Good evening and welcome to The Art of Film. Today we're doing a double feature. I'm very excited to talk to you guys about two huge epics, Spartacus and Lawrence of Arabia. Wonderful films. I want to talk about them, and it's a double feature. So we're going hard and we're hitting it right now. Let's do this. I watched both of these. These are great films, and I watched them just like back to back. And there's a lot of similarities in themes, and I didn't do it on purpose. It just turned out that way. I watched Lawrence of Arabia first. Both are British directed. Stanley Kubrick. British directed, Stanley Kubrick, auteur. You know, this is the one film in which he does not feel like it's his, and he kind of like disavows it, but he directed 90% of it. They had a director who started the project and left early. He came and finished it. So while British directed, it is an American film, largely produced by the lead here, Kirk Douglas. Where Lawrence of Arabia, directed by David Lean, is a British production. It's a British film. So we'll consider this foreign. We'll consider this born in the USA. This is 1962. This is 1960. So a couple of years prior to Lawrence of Arabia, Spartacus came out. Both really are about the lives of a man, right? The mythical tale of a man and how this person becomes mythic and that kind of evolution. So we'll start with Lawrence of Arabia. I watched that one first. You know, and the log line would be the life of T.E. Eliot, right? Quote unquote, Lawrence of Arabia. His coming into being and his ultimate demise and failure and death. I mean, this is an IMAX film. This is a film that you want to see on the big screen. I've never seen it on the big screen, but when they bring back screens, I will watch this movie. It is very good. And it's the vistas, the beautiful, the sand, the desert, the music. This is a movie about, it's the transformation. The theme is really the transformation of a man into myth. That's like the theme of both movies, actually, which I found kind of interesting. Oh, well, they both are kind of like this mythic tale. I think as far as the plot goes and like what's happening, with the story beats, this is fascinating. It starts off a brilliant screenwriting 101 technique of introducing the character very quickly, succinctly. Right away, we know that what Lawrence is like. We know that he is a fish out of water. He's an outsider to the conformity of the British Empire and the British military. He's a bit of an odd duck, you know. And it starts off with his death, which is brilliant. So we start off his death. Now we know what's going to happen. We know how he dies. He dies on the motorcycle accident. And now let's get into his character. And then we go into. And so you start off with his death. We have the funeral, and then we have these little moments of these characters talking about him, and we get this idea of this myth making. Right, where I just shook his hand once, and how dare you say that? He was the best man since, you know, sliced bread, whatever. So there's these, we're already sprinkled in early on, okay, he's somebody. He meant something to these people. And then we go into Lawrence of Arabia, you know, and we see him as this odd duck. So I really like the way that kind of like built that out as an outsider. And you know, then there's these moments, then early on too, then we have the transformation. You know, it's almost like this Messiah. Well, it's not almost, it's very messianic, with him going through the desert and passing that test of surviving the desert, which very few, you know, gaijin can do, so to speak. You have this transformation, that he is one with the desert. And we see this often, that he loves the desert. He's become the desert. He is the white man who can do this. and get through that. And that is a trial. It is a transformative trial, and be from boyhood to manhood or something other, right? And he's accepted as one of them because he's survived through the desert and those things. And now he has this tribe. And the film is a lot about him straddling that line between a British soldier who's got a mission to accomplish. That's why he goes there. It's almost a fool's errand they send him. And now amongst them, he has this tribe. Actually, I think of Dune, right, with Muad'Dib and Paul Atreides. It is similar to Lawrence of Arabia. And in fact, the writer Frank Herbert was a journalist and did a lot of research in oil in the kind of like that era. I mean, Dune is, in a way, like Lawrence of Arabia, but sci-fi, right? And so that transformation of Paul into Muad'Dib and becoming their kind of messiah or savior, similar to Lawrence of Arabia. I just kind of connected that. I'm sure others have connected it years and years ago. So he's being, manipulated by these forces. He's being manipulated. So while he's trying to straddle the line, and he is the chosen one in a way, and a leader of men for the Arab nation, I'm just going to use that in quote as like kind of the general group. He's also being manipulated by the British too, right? And they're both sides are trying to use him to get gain. And once he becomes the myth, once he becomes the hero, the problem is that he begins to believe his own mythology. That's the conflict. Towards the second half is, okay, now he's doing this. Now he's raiding trains, and he's he gets to Damascus. He does all these things. He wines and dines. He brings these tribes together. You have great acting by Sir Alec McGuinness. The cast is great. And now he starts believing it. And now he thinks he's invincible. And he feels, there's that moment when he gets shot and he didn't die. He was saved by the item in his pocket. Saved, the bullet went in there. He starts believing this myth. And that becomes his downfall, because one man will never be able to topple the governments and principalities that are running the show. Eventually he will get ground down by the machine, and in this case the machine is the British Empire and their power and their that becomes his downfall in the end. But it's a fascinating character study. And I think that, it won 7 Academy Awards. These epics, they don't make them like this so much, really. And Olivier I love this film. This is great. Now with Spartacus, right, which happened actually 2 years earlier, this had a lot of problems. This was Kirk Douglas's film. He was going to make this film. This was the film that broke the blacklist. So we have Trudeau, what is his name? Directed by, I'm going to say Truffaut. It's Trumbo, sorry. Dalton Trumbo, who wrote this film. This ended the blacklist. He was a blacklisted writer. Spartacus is also a film about myth, but now we don't really know that much about Spartacus. So there's a little bit more of the fantasy or fictionized story of him. But here, again, vistas, beautiful, cinematic. This is another widescreen, massive IMAX film. And we start off with Spartacus carrying this, falling down, biting. We start right off the bat. We see his determination, his anger, his brokenness as a slave. And in the first 20, 30 minutes, he doesn't speak much at all. It's just through emotion. And there's this love story, which, you know, Lawrence of Arabia has no love story, but there is a love story in Spartacus with Vidinia, and how their relationship is really a sweet, tender one. And Kubrick's not really known for that either, but it's brilliantly done. And his transformation into a human, into a slave, to a free man, and uprising these slaves, which he got to 70,000 slaves to get their freedom. And then you having Crassus, in Rome, trying to stomp out these slaves. This film is a little bit more, I'm going to say, mythical, partly because of the setting. I mean, it's ancient Rome time. But this is more like man's eternal desire for freedom and for, to eliminating esclavitude, and to becoming a real person by relationship with the girl which he marries. They have a child, with his comrade at arms, fighting against the Romans. The cleverness that Spartacus used in his like formations and combat, and there's some great war. It's very similar to Braveheart in some ways. The clever use of tactics, in war, and fighting a opponent who's very regimented, and very much like Braveheart in that he's rousing the troops for the banner, for freedom. And going back to Lawrence of Arabia, there's that too, right? There's a beautiful, beautiful moment of Lawrence of Arabia on the train, and we only see the shadow. Great choice. We just see the shadow of him and his robes kind of in the wind there, and he's on the top, and then we see him, and he's there, and the sun is behind him, and he's their savior, he's their Messiah. Same with Spartacus. He was the man that led the group together for freedom, for rights, for all that kind of stuff. In the end, Spartacus is crucified. In the end, Spartacus doesn't win. And maybe Lawrence of Arabia in a way doesn't win either, dying in a crash, in an accident, and maybe never being respected amongst his own people that he should be. I love both of these films. I think they're brilliant. And this was the 60s. This was just a great time in cinema. 60s and 70s. I want to do some 70s stuff because that was brilliant too. But yeah, big fan of both of these. That's all we'll say about it today. We do these short little videos. We're not going to do too much. But thanks for watching, and I appreciate you guys, and have a great day. So there you go. Boom.